Don't miss out on the best PS5 sale in a long time. How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is PSReady, my channel all about PlayStation. I hope you had a great weekend playing a ton of video games. I finally beat Kingdom Come Deliverance. I am ready for the sequel. It was awesome. I highly recommend playing through the first game's story before you try the second. They say that there's going to be like a intro video that recaps the story from the first one. I would just play it. It's worth playing. It's not like a slog to get through or a chore. It's one of the best open world games I've ever played. But in addition to the intro story, we're going to talk about how some developers are saying that PlayStation's going to abandon exclusives and why I don't think that's a good idea, and I pretty much disagree. And then the question needs to be asked, why aren't you buying physical games? Let's jump into the first news story here though, which is about the PS5 being on sale. This is just for the PS5 Slim. I would not expect the PS5 Pro to go on sale ever, because as far as I know, in the PS4 generation, the PS4 Pro never really went on sale. If it did, it was a minor discount, and honestly, if you didn't get one within the first few months of those being available, they were very hard to find. It was like Sony locked in and dialed in how exactly many of them they should make, and they would make a few batches of them, put them out into the wild, they'd sell out, and then randomly throughout the year they'd restock it, just based on how the PS5 Pro is selling as like an add-on type console for the regular PS5. It's not outselling the PS5. I'd assume that you're not going to see a sale on that. So if you've been waiting to get a PS5 Pro, I mean, your best bet to save money is to either get one used or trade in your PS5 somewhere like GameStop, or if you can live without a game console for a few days or a few weeks, you could sell your PS5 on Facebook Marketplace or on Craigslist or something like that, and then use the money towards a PS5 Pro. But if you want a regular PS5, which honestly, having both, I think you could definitely get away with a regular PS5 at least for the rest of the generation, you're going to want to take advantage of this new sale on PlayStation Direct. So for the disc edition model, it's $425, which is a pretty healthy discount, almost $100 off. And then the digital model is $375, which is a really good price for the PlayStation 5. I personally, I'm going to say this, would go for the disc-based model, mainly because even if you don't plan on buying a bunch of physical PS5 games, all of your physical PS4 games are going to work with that disc drive. And if you have physical games, you shouldn't want to double dip, right? Like if you have a lot of digital games and you're getting into physical game collecting, that's the only situation I can really think of where it's like quote unquote worth double dipping, because it's totally subjective on whether or not that's worth it for you. I like doing it. If I see games I own digitally on a good sale, like down to $10, or I can get a used copy on eBay for even less, I'll pull the trigger there. I'm not buying double games for full price or anything like that, but I can tell you, as someone who's had exclusively disc-based consoles, it's been great. And even when I want to watch movies like new 4K Blu-rays I pick up, it's just nice being able to pop the disc in and play them off of there. Apple streaming is pretty good. It's like great in a pinch, or if I don't want to get off my couch and put a disc in the drive, but it still doesn't really hold a candle to running a movie or a game straight off the disc. It's just an awesome nostalgic experience. And if you're around my age, I feel like there's something lost by getting rid of the disc. So if you're going to go for either model of the PlayStation 5, I would say if you're not going for a Pro, go for the disc edition for $425. I guess it's a Fortnite bundle that comes along with skins and currency for Fortnite. I mean, I don't play Fortnite. I don't really care, but I guess you could like part that out, like take out that code, put it on eBay and see if you could get a little bit of money for it. But I don't think the value is too insane. Like it's nothing compared to the bundles they used to do with stuff like Horizon Forbidden West or Call of Duty. I mean, Fortnite's cool, I guess. It's a good way to get younger people in, but yeah, I hope in 2025 we get some more bundles with some first party games. Even if they're older games, I feel like those bundles are worth doing, because if you've never had a PlayStation 5, if you bundle it with something like God of War Ragnarok or Gran Turismo 7, then that's a good way to get people in the door with a game to play as soon as they get home. I don't think there's really much people talking about how cool of an experience it is to get a console with a game like the Wii. Remember that when they launched that and it came with Wii Sports and you had a game? If you had parents like mine who were like, I just spent however many hundreds of dollars on the console, there's no way in hell I'm getting you a game, you better do some chores and save up your money. At least we had Wii Sports. You get the packing game with Astro's Playroom with the PlayStation 5, but if you're getting a bundle, I think you should go for a bundle if you can find it with an actual game instead of something like a Fortnite add-on cosmetic skin code or something like that. If you're one of the big group of people who has not upgraded from the PS4 to the PS5, now is definitely the time to do it. First party stuff looks like it's going to be a little light till the end of this year when we get stuff like Ghost of Yotei. I think Intergalactic, Naughty Dog's new game, will come out in 2026. But yeah, there's some third party stuff coming out this year. Of course, GTA 6 is allegedly coming out this year, and I don't think you're going to get 60 FPS on the PS5 Pro. So if you're someone who's like, I might sit back and wait till I can afford a Pro, I don't need to upgrade to a regular PS5 now, I feel like they're both going to be 30 FPS versions of that game, but like you'll get better textures or better resolution or less aggressive upscaling with the PS5 Pro and GTA 5. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy like a full-on 60 FPS mode, because Digital Foundry said it for one thing, and another, I've been playing Grand Theft Auto 5 a lot lately, and I watched the trailer again for GTA 6, the one trailer that's available. Even from the small glimpse we've gotten, it looks like they're going nuts with how big of an upgrade it is in terms of everything, whether it's animations, the world size, the stuff going on in the actual world, like the gameplay systems. It looks like it's going to be worth the wait. So I don't think with the marginal, I would say, upgrade you get in hardware with the PS5 to the PS5 Pro, it's going to run at 60 FPS. So yeah, I think you're good to save money on a regular PS5. I've even seen a lot of people on Twitter saying they want to refund their PS5 Pro, which I don't get. It's the same situation I have with the regular PS5 where people get pissed about cross-gen games. That doesn't bug me because they run better on the PS5 and look better on the PS5. Same thing goes for the Pro. If you can afford it, go for the best. But if you want to save money, get a disc edition PS5. You will not regret it. Anyway, that brings me to the second news story here, which is a lot of developers are jumping on this train where they're saying, oh, Microsoft is forward thinking with this whole third-party approach they have because that's going to be the future. And then they automatically point at Sony and say they're going to come around sooner rather than later, and suddenly we'll see every PlayStation game day and date on Nintendo Switch 2, Xbox, and PlayStation. And honestly, not only do I not believe it, I just genuinely hope that doesn't happen, because for one thing, we all know this, there's brand loyalty that's built into being able to play exclusives, right? Like having a company like Sony that makes the console, makes the games, make sure they look and run excellently on their machine, there is value in that. It gives you peace of mind when you go to the store and you see a new first party game from Sony. You can bet that it's going to be worth the $70 or so you're going to pay for it, unless it's on sale, and then you'll still probably feel like it's worth it because you're paying less money. I'll get into the rest of my reasons in a second. I got to tell you about where this story's coming from. It's coming from the guy who runs the studio that made Ori and this new No Rest for the Wicked game. Apparently, he had a conversation with Phil Spencer, like when they wanted to publish the game and keep it exclusive to Xbox and not let him put it on Switch or PlayStation. He came up with this scenario like, how crazy would it be if only certain DVDs worked with certain DVD players? That wouldn't happen. And you could just nix that whole argument immediately, because a 4K Blu-ray, the MSRP is usually $40, but if you pre-order them, you can get them for like 20 a lot of the time. I buy a lot of horror movies. I buy a lot of old movies. Like I just got a great sale on Amazon, which was 3 for $33, which is less than $15 per Blu-ray. You know, you can get these Blu-rays a lot cheaper. And most importantly, what games do not have is the theatrical model. Like, yes, they make a lot of money on the back end by selling DVDs and Blu-rays and 4K Blu-rays, but the vast majority of the money a movie makes is made in the theaters. Like when you go buy tickets, they really track those opening weekend numbers because that's where the vast majority of their money is made. So even when you see a movie that technically costs like $100 million, that's why it needs to make $300 million in the movie's opening weekend, because they got to recoup the marketing. Gaming doesn't have that. All of the sales are made on home purchase. So it honestly makes a lot more sense for there to be specific devices to run specific games, because when you have multiple hardware configurations, regardless of how similar the consoles are, there's always going to be little variances and little differences that make a huge difference in the long run. Like how we see certain games look and run better on the PlayStation 5 and certain games look and run better on the Xbox Series X. No matter what, you're always going to have variances, and I want the company that's making the product, Sony making the PlayStation 5, to only have to focus on, at launch at least, one console for their game, because then we're going to get the best experience on the PlayStation 5. And another trap they could fall into if they start porting their games over for other consoles day and date is the exact same situation Xbox is in with a game like Indiana Jones, right? Like that came out in December, and then it needed a few patches. It's going to get some DLC, and by the time all that's done, that's when the PS5 version is going to come out. Now they're going to try to sell that version at $70. I guarantee it when it launches, because they're going to treat it like a new game. And I would say about a week to 2 weeks is when you'll start to see the price fall, because it's the same same situation that Sony has on PC. It doesn't matter if the game is new to PC, it's not new. It took a year to get to PC, so in PC gamers' minds, the game's a year old, they're not going to pay full price. I mean, a great example of that is the port of Red Dead Redemption 1. It took over a decade to come to PC. They're trying to charge $50 for that, and people just add it to their wish list and don't buy it. You can check the Steam numbers. It did not sell very well because even though it's a new release on PC, it's still technically a very old game, and people aren't stupid. Like, just because you're playing on PC doesn't mean you're not aware of what's going on in the world around you, right? Like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is another example. It's just, you can't launch these games full price and expect people to pay it much later. And on top of that, if you wait the year to play these games on the different consoles like the PlayStation 5 or the PC, or in the other example, Xbox, after you wait a year, if that's the best version, that makes Sony look bad, because it makes it look like, because it's true, that people who bought their console for $500 to $700 are beta testing the game for Xbox and Nintendo Switch players to get the best experience, and often at a discount. Xbox runs into that constantly. Isn't it weird that no one ever mentions Nintendo? They just know that they're never going to release their games on other platforms. I don't know why Sony's any different when they're the market leader right now in terms of gaming. Like, they have no reason to release their games on Xbox. It would probably lose them money in the long run. Switch, that's a different story. Anyway, that brings me to the third topic of today's video, which is, why aren't you guys buying physical games? I know a lot of you aren't because of this new data we got from Matt Piscatella. Basically, the physical game sales since 2020 have been an absolute free fall. No one's buying physical games. And last year it hit its all-time low, which is 50% of consoles bought, so PlayStation 5s, were digital. So it's 50-50 now between disc drive model and digital model out there, which means if you're buying the digital model, you're only buying digital games. But if you're buying the physical model, you can also buy digital games. And with the bigger SSD that's in the PS5 Pro and the fact that it doesn't have a disc drive, I think people are buying a lot of digital games. It's really easy to see why this turned into such a big thing during 2020, because everyone was stuck inside. Everyone was hammering Amazon. Release times and shipping times were slipping. It was just so much easier to upgrade your internet and download all your games to your console when you had a lot of time to play them. But even though I fell in that trap, I went right back to buying physical games at the store. Like, I'll get them at Best Buy, I'll get them on Amazon, I'll buy them on eBay. I just like having that physical disc. Like, I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2 just because it's amazing. I don't feel like I have to justify why I'm replaying it. It comes with the sweet map of the world. It comes with all this extra goodies and stuff. CD Projekt Red has always done stuff like that with The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. You get a great disc experience with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and it's great to know that if you want to clear storage out on your PlayStation 5, you can delete those games and then just put the disc in if you ever want to play them again. And it's a lot faster to install a game off a disc than it is to download it, unless you've got like mega gigabit speed or something like that. But most people don't have business class internet, so I'd guess that for the vast majority of people out there, it's a lot quicker to just install games off the disc. So there are a lot of benefits to playing on physical games. The one stalwart though is Nintendo. They've seen a little bit of a drop off in terms of selling physical games versus digital, but most people still play physically on the Nintendo Switch. I think that's really because the cartridges are just cool. Like, it's cool to be able to swap out those cartridges so quickly, and when you have a lot of them in your Nintendo Switch case, it looks awesome. But I'd argue that disc cases look great on a shelf too. Maybe not if you're having a girl over. I don't think they like seeing a bunch of games on your shelf, but if you're having a buddy over and you can just pop a disc into your console like the good old days, like, there is something to be lost when you're always playing digitally. And knowing that half the people out there or more are buying all their games digitally, it's just disappointing. I mean, we talked about this last week a lot with the tariff thing, where that's going to affect the price of digital games because most of them are printed in Mexico. I was saying that that might be the final nail in the coffin for physical games, and I think it probably will be, which blows. It's just such a huge bummer. But when we were all criticizing Sony for taking the disc drive out of the PlayStation 5 Pro, I think we were warranted there, because we could have just asked for a disc-based model to buy for a little bit more money as well. But I understand kind of why Sony felt like it was okay to take it out to reduce the price, because regardless, as much as we complain about it and you complain about it in my comments, when push comes to shove, it seems like the most people are buying digital games. So you can't really fault them for going for the bigger audience's feelings there. I hope they continue to make games going into the future, but all these rumors about the PS6 being the last disc-based machine, they're starting to come true a lot faster than I really wanted them to. I thought we'd make it till at least the PS7. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for you in today's video. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and shape on.